Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here this evening with the long-anticipated Cody from Hinder. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We are extremely excited. When you, I don't know if you're the person who runs like the socials and stuff, but for those at home who are wondering how we made this miraculous day happen, a friend of ours, a friend of the pod, recorded a cover of Lips of an Angel, posted it on Instagram, and the band was responded to it. And so I went on there and I was like, holy shit, this rules, and like, you know, co-signed from the band. And then you guys messaged us and said, hey, we should do the pod. And we were like, what's happening? What's happening? We want this to happen so bad. Let's do it. Was that you, or was that?
So I do I get on the socials probably more than anybody else. But we also have a good friend of ours named Jason that helps us out, when we can't do it. So that probably was him. You know, he handles a lot of our PR and stuff as well. He's been a part of the team for a long time, and he's pretty awesome. So I think that was probably him. But yeah, I try to get on, whenever I can. I try to stay on top of it as much as possible.
So are you the one who sometimes goes on like your Twitter, and it seems like it's also like part band page, part meme page a little bit sometimes?
Yeah, I get on there some, but Jason's really good at keeping me involved and kind of, letting me know what's going on and what we're talking about and what we're doing. So, it's not like somebody else just we just throw it over to somebody else. But yeah, he definitely helps us out.
Well, let's make sure people know about you and about the band when we get started here. So why don't you tell us what you do in the band and let us know how would you describe Hinder in 2023?
Man, old and jaded, I guess. I don't. No. I play drums in the band. I'm one of the founders of the band, and I guess my role has grown over the years into. I've always been a songwriter as well, one of the primary songwriters, but now it's kind of grown over the years into producer and part-time bus mechanic. And, I do a lot of things behind the scenes as well. So, I stay pretty busy. I'll say that.
So as a part-time also bus mechanic, how is it to work on a broken down bus on the side of the road when you're trying to get from gig to gig?
The worst fucking thing ever, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's terrible. Especially when it happens. We just had a show up in South Dakota, and it was like 8 degrees outside, and everything froze. And so I was out. Luckily, my dad happened to ride up with us. He had some family up there, so he was on the bus with us. And so we were out there in the parking lot, and there's 3 inches of ice on the ground, and we're crawling underneath it, trying to figure out what's going on, what parts are frozen. And it's always something. We have a couple of buses now, and it's always such a pain in the ass, but it saves us. It allows us to take a lot of shows that we wouldn't usually be able to take. So it's I don't know. It's a pain in the ass, but it's necessary, I guess, at this point.
This is when if I see anybody DIY, talking about DIY bands and the DIY music scene, it's like, have you fixed your bus? Because that's real DIY. Yeah. Have you fixed your bus in the middle of a South Dakota winter? Because then that's a real band.
There was a time the same kind of thing happened, and it was so cold. I had to stay back. The rest of the band got to go off to the hotel and get in their nice warm rooms, but I had to stay back with a mobile mechanic that we called him. It was so cold that we were trying to find some air leaks. So to do that, you have to spray soap and water. And I would go in and microwave the water, and I would come out and we'd spray the lines looking for the thing. And within 30 seconds, the bottle was frozen. It gets insane, man. I don't know. There's so many crazy stories with those things, but I mean, if you having a bus is pretty nice. You know, it's like it's your home on wheels, right? Mm-hmm. So it's way better than being in a van. I don't think I'm gonna be doing that. I'm too old for that now.
I can't imagine. Just be like, I guess I'll just go back to van life after that now.
Just to feel something.
I guess I didn't realize that the band had been around since 2001 because I'm thinking I was in high school, maybe college, when Lips of an Angel came out, which I immediately ran to the store and bought the CD because I just loved the song, and then I like put the CD into my normal rotation. I don't know. I guess I didn't realize the band had been around so long, but as we are like the emo social club and we talk a lot about like early 2000s bands, like what was kind of the scene that like Hinder started in, and like how did you like see the band developing and you know, all that stuff from that time, I guess?
Yes, I mean, we didn't get our record deal until like 2004 or 5, around there. But yeah, the early days were very interesting. It was, I don't know, it was like when we started, we were just a 3-piece. You know, it was our first singer, myself, and Blower, our guitar player. And we started, you know, playing at college parties, and, you know, and then we moved into playing this little awful bar. I mean, I loved it, but it was like the dirtiest place ever. It was like, you know, there was an old radio banner on the stage, and there was like blood all over it, and
oh my god,
it was just disgusting. And we played there after we played our first show. I mean, I think we would play there like every day. In the month of December one year, we played every day, even Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, whether it was like just 2 of us playing acoustic or whatever it was. And then, you know, it just it slowly grew, you know. We kind of got serious about it and took it as a business, and it happened really fast for us in the club scene in Oklahoma City, which is pretty much non-existent. I hate to say that, but it's not a big music scene in Oklahoma City. It's really hard to break into it, especially playing original music. And you know, we got lucky, did the right things, and really, I don't know, kind of marketed everything toward the college female base, which I think really helped us a lot. You know, we had
that'll do it.
Kind of hot chicks at our shows all the time, and then so they all wanted to be there, and then all the dudes wanted to be there, and you know, before we knew it, it was just like this big thing. So you know, when we got to the point where we were showcasing for labels, you know, when they came into the showcases, it was packed, and people were going crazy, and they knew the songs, and they were blown away. It was a really cool time for sure.
I think it's kind of crazy to see like certain like states and like, you know, not like super major cities, but like cities nonetheless. And you always think that, this is going to be like a cultural hub and center, especially for music. And then to hear that like OKC doesn't really have that or had that, that's kind of wild, because then now that I kind of think about it, I've never heard of that many bands besides you guys, I'm pretty sure, like come out of OKC.
Well, yeah, we've actually had, well, maybe not Oklahoma City proper, but Oklahoma has had, you know, quite a few artists. You know, the Flaming Lips are from here. They're from Oklahoma City. The All American Rejects, they're from Stillwater, which is just 45 minutes away. There are a bunch that I'm forgetting right now, I can't think of. But yeah, we actually have had quite a few bands come out of Oklahoma, so that's pretty cool. And then, you know, it wasn't that long after we kind of took off that we got inducted to the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame, you know, among all these like really awesome, huge artists. And, you know, for us, that was mind blowing. You know, we didn't really think that we belonged there. So, but yeah, you should look it up sometime. There are a lot more artists out of Oklahoma that, you know, than you would expect, more than I would have expected for sure.
When you said All American Rejects, I'm like, why do I think that they're like from California? And I
thought they were from like Arizona originally. Honestly,
I have a feeling that like a lot of bands, like I would even say this about Fall Out Boy sometimes, is like they end up moving to California, and then they're like, we're a California band now. And it just depends on like how people in the city that they came from like feel. Like, are we gonna like say no, Fall Out Boy is a Chicago band, or Hinder and All American Rejects, they're like an Oklahoma band, and it's like, how do you like determine when you're like, no, we're gonna like have strong ownership over that? And I don't know if like maybe All American Rejects is like, nah, we're doing the pop punk thing. We left our hometown and now we're like from this new place, and we're out here. We're California kids now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a band from, I guess they would have been like late 90s. They would have been considered grunge. And one of our favorite bands called the Nixons. They were like it was actually like my first big concert I ever went to was the Nixons. They had a big song in the late 90s, and they were from Oklahoma City, but after they kind of really got going, they would always on stage say they were from Dallas. I guess it's cooler than Oklahoma City at the time. I guess we always thought that was kind of funny.
I mean, I guess like I just find it weird, like when bands are like, no, I'm from here now after living there for a little while, and I'm like, no, you're always from your hometown. Like you're always from where you grew up, and like there's no way you're writing music that doesn't have some sort of sense of like that original place you came from, that original experience of that place. Like I don't know, like I think you would always have it.
Yeah, well, we've always been really proud of it because, to be honest, we kind of think that was part of the reason that we had the success that we did, because at the time, we didn't really have any pressure to kind of do the things that everybody on each coast were doing. We weren't having to fight with what they were doing in LA or New York. We were just a band from Oklahoma, just kind of doing our thing. And I think if it wouldn't have been for that, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish what we did.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to have all these accomplishments because you're still around, like, and doing all these things, and absolutely like touring, and also just collaborating with a lot of different things and ideas nowadays. I know that we saw like in 2019, you covered a song by the Eagles, which I feel like is a very like offshoot, because we always see covers and it's like modern day covers, like the Pop Goes Punk or whatever it is. So like, what was like the thought process behind that?
Honestly, one day I was just sitting around trying to figure out how to play Life in the Fast Lane, and I just kind of, I don't know, just kind of stumbled upon this riff, and it kind of was a little more dark, a little more minor, and thought it was kind of cool, and so I had this idea, and I took it to Marshall, our singer now, and he's like this phenomenal guitar player. Like he's just like, as far as music goes, he's insanely talented and smart, and so he kind of, the two of us kind of put it together after that, and kind of just like you said, did a dark, heavier version of Life in the Fast Lane. And it just kind of, while we were doing it, it really kind of made sense, because if you think about it, the lyrics are really dark, and kind of, I don't know, kind of spooky, I guess. So it kind of made sense to make it a little more dark and heavy. So I think it turned out really cool. We still play that song. We still play it live every night.
So now you were saying your singer's currently downstairs doing editing. So I'm assuming that's for music and for new stuff. And you're on your 7th studio album, and you say you're in the middle of it, so I don't want to like, say, what does it sound like? Can you play it for us and all of that? But like, if you want to give like a tease to the audience of like what you're writing and what we should expect.
Well, to be really honest with you, I don't really know what to expect yet. We've written a ton of songs, and we've recorded, more than an album's worth already. But, we're so all over the place, we like every kind of music that there is, honestly. And so, right now we're just trying to figure out what it needs to be as a whole, if it even needs to be cohesive at all. I mean, I don't even know anymore, like people are just kind of doing whatever they want to do. So I don't know, we're trying to decide if we want it to be like some cohesive body of work, or if we want to just, kind of make every song be what it's written to be, and then just kind of let it like be its own thing, So, yeah, we're, like I said, all over the place, and we don't really know what the hell we're doing at this point.
I mean, while you're like putting together all these like different songs and like just trying to think of like how it's going to form, are there any specific like kind of like influences for like modern music that you've started to pull from, especially right now, like hard rock has seen like a huge resurgence, or maybe it's just because I listen to Octane a lot nowadays because they have Sirius XM again. But I've been seeing like this change in sound and a lot of people having a lot of takes on that development, the development of the sound, and wanted to know if you guys are also like maybe dabbling in that.
Yeah, I mean, we try to push everything, and try to, come up, incorporate different styles into whatever we're doing. You know what I mean? So, I think even one of our newer songs has like a mandolin part in it, or so it's got like, which I don't know. This song's kind of. It's a song that we've actually been playing live, so some people have heard it, but it's kind of got like that 4 on the floor pop thing going with some big guitars, and then like I said, like a mandolin part, and it's, I don't know, it's got just things from everywhere that we tried to pull in, and then then we've got some other songs that are, another song that we play live. Is real, it's heavy, but it's kind of got some industrial elements to it, I guess, and some electronic elements. So, we're always trying to listen to, other songs that are popular just for inspiration, just to see what other people are doing, and, just see if it inspires us to come up with something new.
So it could be a pop punk record.
Actually, yes, we have. Funny you say that.
Hinder goes pop punk.
we actually have written like three different like pop punk songs for this particular album. I don't know if it's going to make it or not, but actually one of our favorite songs is like, it's like pop punk, like as pop punk as it could be. So, I mean, like I said, we're really all over the place. We write every different style. I mean, Marshall and I, and actually in Mike and Blower, we're in it too, but for a while we did a country project. And then, Marshall and I had this, very short-lived alternative project. And, like I said, we're all over the place. We love everything.
I mean, I always say, like, I think that's the kind of the right way, especially now when it's just like, I might hear one song and then it's like, it's like one song gets on one playlist, right? And you're like, okay, that's the song that like fits on that playlist. Maybe I go to the artist and it's like, okay, they're all different songs, but it all fits like different moods and different genres and all that. And I think that's just like kind of normal now, where like, you don't have to fit in that box so cleanly and so perfectly. It can be just like, yeah, I do what we do, and this is like the culmination of these people together in the studio that we get this out of it. Yeah. I think that's awesome. Yeah, man, me too. And honestly, like, I think it's really cool to see these artists come out now that it's really obvious that they're not being told what to do behind the scenes by a label or whatever. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jelly Roll, but
yeah.
that dude is doing everything. It just seems like he just does whatever it is that he wants to do, and it's always great. He's super talented. His songs are awesome, but they don't necessarily fit into one tiny box. They may be country, they may be rock, they may be rap, they may be whatever. Like, I think that's super cool, and for us, like, we draw inspiration from that for sure.
I know with like Jelly Roll too specifically, I work in radio, and one of our programming directors for the country station, we had him on one of our like shows over the summer, and they came back in and they're like, oh my God, we had this guy named Jelly Roll, And he's like, I was so blown away, but I was so confused because it's not traditional country, but everyone was like losing their minds. And I'm like, well, I heard Jelly Roll on Octane. So I didn't know that there was that much of a crossover per se until that instant. I'm like, that's really good because that means he's just expanding his audience. Yeah,
he's incredible. We had the opportunity. We played Blue Ridge Rock Festival, and he was on headlining another stage, and we got to go watch him. And that he's legit, man. He's the real deal. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's very inspiring.
Yeah, I think like with all that too, it's just like it's what fans are gravitating towards, and like I think genre has just fallen completely out of it, and it's way more about like the authenticity of the artist and like connecting to the people that are playing it, and the lyrics and the music around it. And it's like people like that just tend to like rise to the top because they just are that authentic type of person. There's not that like sheen over them from a label and like the polish of like, I mean, like talking like MTV and VH1 back in 2005 and stuff. And it's like, there's just like very like untouchable artists, and you're like, I don't know them, but like, I'll say it in this way. I never thought in 2005 that I'd be sitting across from Hinder right now. So it's like one of those things where it's like, well, now I know there's like this authenticity to artists, right? Like these are regular people who just like creating things and want to play in front of regular people and just have that connection. And I think that now that we've sort of like been able to break down a lot of that facade, it's just like, okay, I'm just liking what this person is creating and what this person is about. And now you get to have more of that interaction than, you know, just seeing somebody on TV and being like, cool, whatever.
Yeah, man. I don't know. This whole, like, I guess it's kind of like a new movement too, you know, with, you know, like I said, there's like a lack of record labels and corporate interests, you know, kind of putting their nose into the creative process. And you know, I think that's awesome. I think it kind of it needed to happen, you know, for music to continue to grow. So I think I kind of feel like maybe it's a little bit less in the rock world, you know, kind of where we live, I guess, but it's getting there, you know, it's starting to happen more and more. And I don't know, it's very exciting to me. You know, I think rock is finally starting to catch up again. I think as a result of that, people are finally growing some balls and kind of pushing back a little bit and doing their own thing.
Yeah, like rock music just always seemed to be the genre that was more about like, I don't know, it just like it didn't collaborate a lot, you know, like it wasn't about working with other people. It was about like, we're bands and we're going and we're doing it. And it's like, I think when people are like rock needs to like adapt and grow, it's mostly that like collaboration and that surrounding yourself with like with other people and other genres and getting other ideas into it, and not just trying to stick to that like narrow path of like, oh, we're just gonna ride with just rock music, because then people get kind of like, well, I've heard that before, or this isn't that interesting to me. Like I would like to hear something more. And to bring up, you know, just one of everybody's favorite artists, MGK and his like pop punk record. It's like at least it's not the same thing, and it did kind of like, you know, it rose to the top, and for better or worse, everybody listened to it, and it was just a big record. But you know, it is different. It is something that we haven't heard, and now people are excited by it in that new path. But like everybody in rock hates him because he's doing the thing that's like, you know, that's not what it's supposed to be. And it's like, I don't know, man. It is what it is.
You know, I'm not really sure that everybody in rock. Well, first of all, I don't know that everybody in rock hates him, but like, I think it's more of an attitude thing, to be honest. I don't think it has anything to do with what he's doing musically. You know, I don't think that, I mean, how could you hate on a guy that, you know, that just wants to do something that's a little more rock? I mean, who doesn't, you know what I mean? Like rock's, it's cool. It's always been cool, and it always will be cool to some extent. I think, you know, in my mind anyway. I just think it's the attitude and the shit talking, you know, the whole thing where I think I'm cooler and better than everybody else. I mean, nobody's buying that shit, man.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, dude. You're not cooler. I mean, sorry, like, not to be a dick, but you're just not, you know,
Yeah.
like. So, I mean, I heard I've heard a few songs, you know, from, you know, a few of his more rock tunes, and I actually like them. You know, I think they're good. So, but yeah, as far as the collaboration thing goes, to be honest, I mean, that's something that we've been trying to do more and more, and it's kind of been a struggle. You know, we really wanted to, you know, have a feature, you know, on a couple of the new tracks, and we've, you know, we've reached out to, you know, some female pop artists or country artists, and, you know, it's really hard to do to nail them down. Everybody's got their own thing going, and if it's not put together by somebody else behind the scenes, it's really hard to make it work. So, but when it does happen, you know, I do think it's cool. You know, I think it's really cool for the listeners, you know, for the fans of music. I think there are a lot of positives. So, you know, I'm kind of hoping that we can do a little more of it in the future for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be, yeah. I'm looking at like albums now, and like people are literally just posting like who is featured on it, and I'm like, this never happened in rock music before, where it's like we have these features on it. And then a friend of the pod the other day sent me a song that was I think it's by an artist who does primarily country. I couldn't really tell because it was kind of like goofy, but it featured the singer of A Day to Remember on it, and I was like, I'm not really sure what this is, but it is really cool that at least like there is like these combinations coming together where like country's working with other artists and like screaming on their records. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. Why are we screaming on a country song? But then it's like, okay, well, try it, do it, put it out there, see what people think.
Yeah, man. Well, country's getting, you know, increasingly heavy. You know what I mean? Like, it gets heavier and heavier every day. You know, guys like Brantley Gilbert, you know, they're out there. I mean, they're doing if I heard correctly, they were going to do some dates with Five Finger Death Punch, and I know they're doing dates with Nickelback. I know I just said a bad word there, but
you did not. You did not. I will not allow slander on Nickelback on this podcast. I'm a fan of Nickelback, and I will not hide it.
Love you for saying that. So me too. But yeah, man. I mean, yeah, country's getting, like I said, country's getting heavy, and they're also doing, you know, they're doing, like I said, hip hop elements and a little more pop. And I mean, the original producer that worked with Nickelback is one of the biggest producers in Nashville now. Actually, he worked on our very first demo, or what became our demos for our first record. You know, he worked on all that, and we recorded it with him at Chad Kroger's house. So back in the early days. So it's it's getting interesting for sure. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can talk about some of the shows you played too, because I saw you play with a lot of other bands that we really like. But we did push that there should be a Hinder Nickelback tour. So when Nickelback announced their tour, I was like, I hope Hinder's on this, and it wasn't. But you know, the next time,
right? We're still trying. We're still trying to get on. But, yeah, we've had a long history with Nickelback. We've known those guys for a long time, and haven't really been in touch, you know, for a few years now. But when we were out with them, man, we had a great time, and we have so many stories that we get to tell. So that's always fun.
That's we were talking a little bit before we jumped on the recording of it, but I wanted to make sure that it was understood that buttrock is not a negative term in this context, and that we are actually fans of buttrock, if that's what you want to call everything. So, you know, I'm not to lump anybody in, but like if we're talking like, you know, that sort of genre where it's like Nickelback, I guess Creed, kind of like I grew up listening to Nickelback and Creed, and it's like, yeah, just what I'm used to. So all the bands that kind of just sound like those two bands, like anything that has like the grunge influence, or like some people call it like the middle of the country, like rock music or things like that. But I don't think it's a bad, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad word. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. I don't care if it is, man. I like all the bands that, that came out around the same time or just before us. So call it what you want, man. I don't care. I love it. Like, I always love that. What's that? A dude that had that like big TikTok where he's like, stop calling it buttrock. And he's like, I'm talking about Stained. I'm talking about Hinder. I'm talking about mud. Like that guy. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's like.
When you said it, I thought maybe you were talking about Jarris Johnson, who was taking a lot of songs and doing like sort of like an updated like new metal butt rock take on a lot of music, and then ended up like doing a collab with Papa Roach, like redoing one of their songs with them, just because he like had that sort of like, I don't know, the butt rock voice, the sort of like gravelly and just like singing that on top of Papa Roach with them. Like, okay, that's pretty cool.
I don't know if I've heard it or not, but I'm gonna go look for it after this for sure.
He had a few. He did one with Bring Me the Horizon too. Like he just had a very like wide range at that time. It was a little bit of like that, the butt rock, the new metal, the hip hop, like all these influences, and just made TikToks of them. And then everybody's like, holy shit, this is really cool. We should work with this guy. Which is, I don't know, again, collaboration. I'm like, yeah, just pick up the dude on TikTok who's like, I like this song and I want to do it like this. And I think this sounds cool.
Yeah, dude, Bring Me the Horizon. That's one that, I've kind of, I don't listen to a ton of new music unless, I'm more of a fan of like songs instead of, bands. So I don't necessarily always follow along, but Bring Me the Horizon, man, they're doing some cool stuff. That's one band that I think is really interesting because, they've got that super heavy thing going, but then they'll just come out with a straight up pop song. That's like, I mean, the guitars are heavy, but they'll even bury them down in the mix, like make it a pop mix, and his singing style will be super pop, and then he'll just scream one or two lines and pass it off as metal. And I think it's great, dude. I think it's awesome. I love it. That's super cool.
They've back in the day, I was like, I'm really into this. This is really cool. And then over time, they just become one of my favorite bands. And I'm like, yeah, it's just that the sort of thing. It's just like you do whatever you want. You just go into the studio, you start making music. It just comes out the other end as whatever it is. But clearly it appeals to a lot of people, and a lot of people are interested in it. And I think it like opens up for like other artists who are doing a similar thing where it's not just not just butt rock, I guess.
I mean, honestly, from like a production standpoint, I think it's all very, very interesting. And, I'm kind of become a studio nerd, in the last several years. And, we listen to that stuff in the studio just for inspiration all the time. I think it's super cool.
So another band I want to ask about that I think you recently played a show with is another band that everybody in our community loves is Hoobastank. And it's another band that I'm like I think you guys and Hoobastank just never got like enough credit. I don't know. This is like where I come from, where it's just like I listen to both your bands and I'm like, dude, why doesn't everybody think this is like the greatest shit, right? But yeah, like
doesn't think we're the greatest shit.
I mean, look, like I said, I grew up on this type of music, so it's like this is just it just fits in my world. But yeah, like what do you think? Like what do you think about Hoobastank?
I love Hoobastank, to be honest with you. We played a show with them probably, I don't know, it's been probably 4 or 5 months ago, and we'd played several shows with them before. I think we were actually out on the Nickelback tour together at the same time, like one of our definitely our first arena tour. And we watched them every night just because we were friends and fans. But then we played a show with them fairly recently, and holy shit, dude, like it was incredible. Like I couldn't believe how good it was. And it was like like they didn't even have to try. You know, they flew in, played on, you know, rental gear. You know, they didn't have any of their stuff. They just flew in, walked on stage, and just like blew the roof off the place, man. It was incredible. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
Like we've said, I think that this is now being that like we brought back, you know, the emo resurgence, the pop punk resurgence, being like now it's in the mainstream and everybody's trying to like emulate it, do some of that stuff. It's like the next one has to be like these types of bands, because yeah, like hoobastank is just like coming in, blowing the roof off the place. It's like, yeah, like there's got to be an opportunity here for like that genre to pop back into the mainstream and do something big again.
You know, I would like to think so. You know, like we're in the middle, you know, as we talked about, we're in the middle of making a record, and we're kind of getting a lot of like pushback. You know, when we're trying to just kind of write the songs that we've always written, you know, it's like everything needs to be heavier, you know, like it needs to be more closer to metal, you know what I mean? If you're trying to play the radio game, and we kind of stopped playing that game for a while because of that, you know, that's not really what we do. I mean, we might do it sometimes if it happens naturally, but you know, that's one of the struggles that we're having right now, is that we keep writing songs and everybody's like, oh, I love this song. I think this is a great song. We need something heavier. And so, yeah, that's kind of becoming a struggle, but we'll see what happens in the end, man. But like, yeah, I agree with you. I really wish, like, you know, I really wish rock could go back to the days where it was just about a great song. You know, it was just about a song that means something to people, that relates to people, that has a great melody, a great hook, great lyrical content, and we didn't have to worry about, you know, how many bass drum notes we could fit in a bar. You know what I mean? Like, sure. or how distorted we could get the guitar tone. You know what I mean? I want it to go back to being about the songs again, but we'll see. I may lose that battle.
Yeah. Is that I realize I don't know if you guys are still with a label, or is that push like coming from somebody like that, or is it just sort of, it's also like, for me, it'd be like I'm in the studio and everybody's just got ideas and you're trying to fit all of them together. And eventually you're like, no, guys, we have to still cut out some of these ideas. We can't just put like double bass in everything, you know?
Well, I don't really do much of the double bass thing anyway. It's just not my, I'm not.
But do they look over at you and they're like, hey, do double bass at this part? And you're like, no, I'm not doing that there.
No, I mean, I'll do a little here and there, but like I said, I'm not good at it. It's not my thing. So they may be just shit out of luck on that deal. But yeah. So right now we're kind of in a trial thing with a cool little like boutique label, which is really cool. You know, it's with Howard Benson, and I don't know if you're familiar with Howard. I mean,
Killswitch,
one of the biggest producers in the whole world for the people out there.
Oh, no, sorry, yeah. Howard,
he's great, man. A great guy. And we're actually loving working with him. And then the other guy that owns the label with him is Neil Sanderson from 3 Days Grace.
Okay.
So, but you know, I think it's less about like their preferences and more about where rock radio is. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that is just pushing it, you know, further and further down the heavy path. You know what I mean? They're just trying to be as heavy as it can be, and I'm not sure that I understand that, but that's where it's going.
Okay, we got Lizzie back. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I found out something blew up downstairs because we had a blip in our outage and it blew something up. But here we are.
Well, I'm glad you popped back in on this one, because I was going to ask a good question about radio, because we're talking about like how radio is pushing you in that direction. So, I mean, like, I think we're more used to, like, from our friends when we talk to, is like radio is not really the big thing, but we talk more about like Spotify and like finding an artist just through there, or playlists and all that. But are you sort of thinking that like there's more people that are listening to radio and are finding your band through radio still?
I don't know that it's necessarily like terrestrial radio. It's more so I feel like Octane's still a big deal. Like that's the one thing that still moves the needle as far as radio goes for rock. And obviously, if you want to have a home there, you're going to have to continue to be heavy and kind of follow what they do. Follow their format. I don't know if that's going to work for us. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, that's, like I said, that's the big push, so right now, just so you know, when we're here, we're down in the studio, downstairs here, that's what we're doing. We're beating our heads against the wall, trying to come up with something heavy. But we have a whole, like I said, more than an album full of songs that I think are pretty cool songs. And, hopefully those will have the opportunity to be heard as well. We'll see.
I mean, it's definitely kind of like the Bring Me the Horizon route, which I feel like everybody is more like accustomed to. And I feel like kind of kickstarted this, like, you're in one certain genre, but then you kind of like have these different varieties, but people like it all across the board, no matter what. And that's still played on like Octane. Some of that came on to WKQHQ 101 here in the city. Like it kind of came and went because it was a little bit too heavy. But I know like Rock 95.5, which is our other hard rock radio station here in the city, even though it's relatively new, they're also like including that in. But I do agree because I know also a friend of the pod, Crooked Teeth, Tyson had said, because he was playing on a couple festivals coming up that are a little bit more of that hard rock angle, he said that he's starting to like experiment with that type of thing too. And I think it's so interesting and like different and cool.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about that earlier. Like, Bring Me the Horizon. That's one band that I feel has like they've really mastered that. Like writing a pop song that is just, I mean, to my ears, like a straight up pop song, and then just layering the heavy tones underneath, and he's got that scream thing that's just so cool and undeniable. Not everybody can do that, so I think for some of us it's a little more of a struggle than it is for them, but I mean I think it's awesome that they've been able to do that so well, and I don't know, it opens doors for bands that have that ability, and I think that's fantastic.
Lizzie, I apologize because we did talk a little bit about Bring Me the Horizon, Nickelback, and Hoobastank while you were.
I can't believe.
I know.
You missed all the good stuff.
I know.
I was like, oh, Brian's going on to something. Then like everything froze, and I'm like, oh no, and it dropped out, and then my Discord went down, and I ran downstairs because my brother's trying to do homework, and he's just like, why is the internet down? I'm like, yo, I don't know. Let's figure this out.
Well, if you have anything you want to ask Lizzie about Hoobastank, you can do that too.
Are you guys really besties? I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, we like to think so. I don't know what they would say, but no, we actually do love those guys. We have a great time every time we see them. They're super cool, super nice, super down to earth. And I was just saying that we played with them recently. And holy shit, their live show was incredible. Like, we'd played 1 million times with them before, and I'm sure it was great, but maybe we were just always drinking too much. I don't know, because that's what we do. But it was, I don't know, I feel like they're as good or better than they've ever been. So yeah, they're awesome.
I can't wait for the butt rock renaissance to finally come into its full form in the year 2023.
I sure hope that happens.
Yeah, same. Do you think, talking on genre, because obviously we're the emo social club, and I don't know if people are like, oh wait, Hinder emo, but like, were you doing like a charity compilation with like emo and pop punk bands, and like during COVID times? Was that something you were doing?
We did, yeah, and that was all through our buddy Jason that I was telling you about. He kind of set that whole thing up. It was, somebody had sent in a cover song of Lips of an Angel, and obviously, like, there couldn't be a bigger compliment than that, like somebody covering your song and sending it over to you. So we thought it was amazing, and we were lucky that so many bands came in and wanted to be a part of it, and raise money for a good cause, and we were thrilled about it. We loved it.
So, do you know which band covered Lips of an Angel?
I mean, there have been a ton, to be honest. Like, I can't really think of any off the top of my head besides like the biggest country one that Jack Ingram. That one did pretty well, but there have been a ton, which is cool. Like none of them that have really like been like super mainstream, but I think that's even cooler that like these other bands that are actually like kind of cool, are doing it.
I mean, it's the same thing that I think happened like for us too, is like if a song gets you right and the song just is good and the song is just fun to listen to and sing along with your friends to, it doesn't really matter like the genre. But I also think there is like an emo streak in a lot of like these songs, like it is a song that meets the same sort of criteria as like it's a dramatic song about this one thing. It's about emotion, it's about your feelings and all that, and like that just is the same thing to me. So like the idea of like somebody is going to like everything for the same reasons, I think, just because it sounds a little different and all that, it doesn't really like, I don't know, it doesn't take me out of it,
I completely agree 100%. I think the whole point of writing music or doing anything entertainment related really is just to create something that connects with people, that people can relate to, and that can kind of make people stop and go, holy shit, man, that person is going through the same thing that I'm going through right now, and hopefully it helps people. I think that's the great thing about music.
It's definitely been like a new way to like kind of pivot it all into like the emotional aspect of it, because I know I personally have talked to friends, been like, oh, I listened to like buttrock, like 3 Days Grace, and there's actually been like a lot of argumentation for some weird reason about playing like things like 3 Days Grace, hoobastank, and like even Hinder at like emo and pop punk nights, which I think is absolutely silly, because it all fits in that genre. But because you also have a lot of these songs and music that came out years and years ago, and with like kind of the resurgence of a lot of these art like bands and artists coming back and going on these kind of like anniversary tours, are you ever going to do your Extreme Behavior anniversary tour? Because COVID obviously canceled it, but we may be closer to a another big year touring of that. Now it's 2023.
Yeah, we're coming up on 20 years. Oh God. That sucks. Yeah. I feel like we're definitely going to have to own up to that at some point when we get there. And we're going to have to go back and relearn all the songs that we don't play anymore, and do an anniversary tour. We had some really big plans for the 15-year anniversary, and like you said, COVID kind of squashed it all, but I'd like to kind of revive some of those ideas and do a big tour. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Now, on this let's hopefully potential tour, are there any like artists or bands that you had either like originally spearheaded to be on this or would want to have on this upcoming tour, or any upcoming tour really?
I mean, yeah, there are a lot, there are a lot of, we always had this idea of getting some of the late 90s bands. I think that would be really cool. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I think it'd be really cool to get like Eve 6 or
yes.
Get like Lit.
Yes.
That's another band we love. Maybe like Big Wreck. I don't know if you guys remember Big Wreck, but that was a band that we were really big fans of. I mean, there's so many bands, that we'd love to pair up with. We haven't toured with Papa Roach. You mentioned them. We haven't toured with them in quite a while. I think that would be incredible. I mean, there are a ton of bands that, we've gotten to know over the years that we have, really great relationships with that we'd like to pair back up with and do.
I mean, yeah, that's like, look, we're coming to the Chicago date. We're going to be there. We will be as close to the front as we possibly can. But it's like, damn, that just like that sold tickets to somebody that wasn't me already buying the tickets.
Well, let me ask you. So, who would you like to see us do it with? Like, if you could pick like 3 bands.
I mean, I would say, I want.
We want the hoobastank collab.
We want the hoobastank tour. We want a Nickelback Hinder tour. Like we want
Nickelback Hinder hoobastank.
Yeah. I mean, that's been in my head for a while. Like since I've been thinking about like, this resurgence and these bands. I'm like that is the first to me. But I mean, I could see a 3 Days Grace being on it and being pretty cool.
Especially because 3 Days Grace, I think 1X has like an anniversary coming up too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's one of Lizzie's favorite bands too. So she would appreciate that.
I'm also biased too. Is that I would be like, this would make I think it would make some sense, but it'd be like a mixed genre thing. But like Hollywood Undead, because it does kind of fall into that, but they've gotten more modernized. So like, I mean, they're on tour right now with Papa Roach. So.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, on the 3 Days Grace front, we were just talking about them. We've been doing some collaborations with Neil. So, and he's part of the label that we may be releasing some music with, on the next go around. So I'll definitely mention it if we make it.
It's like what the Crystal Girlies say. They're like manifesting. If you like say it or something, it's supposed to happen ideally. So. Just put it on the universe.
I love it.
This is like a surprising byproduct of like, we started this podcast just to want to like, talk to bands and talk to people we love and nice people in the music scene. If we get to, just manifest a tour package that happens to come through our town, I think we've done a good job with this podcast and this will be our last interview.
Well, if you can, I don't know if you guys, if it's like, if you guys record this, if you can just send me this little clip and I'll use it. I'll use it properly.
Just be like, hey, record label, have you ever considered this?
I was on this podcast and they had a great idea.
Be like, we have to trust them. At least one of them listens to Octane. Like, come on.
That's right. That's awesome.
We've got a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that I mention to you before we like do some plugs and where people can find you and all that. We'll get to that in a minute, but I do want to mention that it was so we DJ the local emo night LA here in Chicago, and one night we had just been doing like a DJ stream on Twitch, and we played Lips of an Angel, and just everybody was just talking about it. We're so excited about it. It stuck in my head. Like, damn, this song goes so hard. So at emo night, I was like, well, I'm going to play this like as the last one. But then we usually play Helena by My Chem at the end of the night. That's like the last, hey, get the fuck out after this song is done. And so we were running low on time and they were like, you got 5 minutes left. And then I was like, I'm not gonna be able to play all of both songs. So I'll play like through the first chorus of Lips of an Angel, and then I'll get to Helena and we'll just close out the night. And just when the song started, the room exploded. People were just like having an absolute blast, top of their lungs, screaming all the words. And I'm like, I kind of feel bad switching to My Chemical Romance right now. Like everyone is
having
really
the best
loud
time
right now.
That's awesome to hear. That's awesome.
So like now, like 2023, Lips of an Angel, obviously, if you do the 20-year tour, like, that's that record. But like, how does it feel to like have that song like still blowing up, still popular in the year 2023?
Dude, it's insane, man. It's like, I mean, we always loved that song, right after it was written, but we thought it had potential to do something, but we had no idea that it was going to to be what it became, and it was going to have the staying power that it did. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we, to be honest, I feel like we just got lucky, and I mean, it's really unexplainable. It's like I don't really I don't have the words to explain, the way it feels to have a song like that. It's just I don't know, kind of still, even to this day, so many years later, it feels like kind of like a dream a little bit. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if we've ever talked to somebody who has had a song that's like exploded that way and like been defining of like, like, where you were when you hear that song, how it makes you feel. And it's like, oh, I'm right back to like that day that I heard it and all that. And it's like, I don't know if we've really talked with somebody who's had such a huge single, a huge like breakout hit like that.
It's pretty wild. I'll say that. It was definitely life-changing for us. I mean, it pretty much, I mean, Get Stoned was our first single, and it did really well for us. I feel like we probably could have had a career, just off of that song alone. But, when Lips came out and did what it did, it just, I don't know. Like I said, it was life-changing, changed everything for us. So, it's cool. We're still living on it. It's great.
Yep. I mean, it's very likely. I think it's very likely it's just going to pop back up again.
I'm waiting for it to become like a viral sound on TikTok.
Same.
And then everyone is suddenly like, have you heard about buttrock? And I'll be like, yeah. What do you know about buttrock?
I'm waiting for it too. Maybe you're the one. Maybe you can start.
I know we're gonna make a TikTok, and then Brian's gonna be upset, and then he's gonna be like, "Why wasn't I in the TikTok?" I'm like, "You don't like to be on TikTok. That's
TikTok.
why you're not on the TikTok."
I was saying earlier too, like I every so often I just need to delete Twitter off my phone. I'm like, this is just annoying. Like everybody just has like the worst content. People are just posting bullshit instead. Like, post something fun, be interesting, be nice, be like just a part of the world, and everyone's just instead just angry and mean and just posts like half of a thought and then says, no, I'm very right and everyone else is very wrong. And I'm like, cool, I'm deleting this. And TikTok, I'm just like, cool, I'm not ever going to check that.
I feel like we're actually really bad at social media because we have a very specific sense of humor, and we think that we're fucking hilarious. Like, and so everything we do, we try to make it funny, and I feel like we'll post something and nobody gets it, and then it's just like all the winds out of our sails. And we get discouraged and we quit posting shit for a while, and so I think that's why we suck.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, we can go ahead and do some plugs of where people can find you on the internet. And if you see any of these hilarious takes, make sure you're liking and retweeting and reposting. Come on, guys. So where can they find all of these hilarious anecdotes on the internet?
It's super easy. Everything is Hinder Music. So /Hinder Music for across all socials. So it's easy to find.
And look out for new music coming soon. Would you say this year, or do you not want to have a date on it yet?
Yeah, I don't know if I can have a date on it yet, until we get heavier, man. Once we get heavy, then then we can start throwing out new music. But we're definitely working on it. I feel like we're pretty far into the process, and we've got some good stuff. So we're excited. I'm pretty confident that it'll be this year. But I definitely don't have a date yet.
And then hopefully we get some type of summer or fall tour out of it. Maybe winter.
Yeah, we're hoping. I've heard we may really ramp it up in the fall, but we've recently made some changes in our team, so hopefully things are going to move a little bit faster. So and pick up a little bit. We'll see what happens.
It'll be warmer weather to fix your bus at least.
Oh yeah. I sure hope so.
Yeah. Well, perfect. We're going to go ahead and we'll wrap up the recording of the podcast here. We'll hang out for a little bit over on Twitch. There's some people chatting over there, so we'll go ahead and talk with everybody over there. But in the meantime, make sure you're following Hinder everywhere. New music coming soon. New touring coming soon. Buttrock revival happening currently. Immediately right now. So yeah, we'll go and we'll chat over there. But in the meantime, Cody, this is exactly what we wanted. Thank you so much for being on the pod.
Yeah, man. Anytime. Thank you very much.